This is the top 5 meta loadouts in Warzone and Rebirth Island. You can use all these class setups in rank, by the way, so you guys can absolutely pop off. So the first thing I'm going to give you guys is the short and long range meta. These things are absolutely insane. The static HV and the STG-44 are the first two weapons that you guys need to use. So starting out for the static HV, put on the quartermaster suppressor for being undetectable by the radar, gun kick control, and recoil control. You lose some aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed, but it's not a big deal for all the pros you get for recoil control. For recoil gun kick, you get 10% decrease of recoil, horizontal recoil 23%, and vertical recoil 10%. Better than any of these other things, and you stay off the minimap. This is the best choice overall. Next, I put on the Auger 840 light barrel for the aim down sight speed, sprint to fire speed, movement speed, and hip fire and attack stand spread at the cost of recoil control and gun kick control. Trust me, you want to have fantastic mobility because this SMG at base does not have good mobility, so I wanted to compensate for it. Next, I put on the XRK Edge BW4 hand stop for the aim walking speed, movement speed, aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed at the cost of aim walking steadiness and hip fire and attack stand spread. The mobility and handling basically get maxed out for a little bit of reduction of hip fire and attack stand spread, which really does not matter in my opinion. I put on the Warcat 90 grip for the sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed with a reduction of recoil control. Trust me, the handling is worth it. You get a 15% increase of sprint to fire speed and ADS speed. Trust me, this is absolutely worth it with a slight reduction of recoil control, which is already taken care of. Lastly, I put on the Niter model 2023. If you're not an optics person, then you can use anything else, but this is my personal preference. When you go into the firing range, this thing is absolutely deadly at both close and mid range. This is absolutely what you want to have on there. Please avoid the long range gunfights for this. It's not that this thing is bad, it's just it does have a ton of recoil at long range. It's not something that I would recommend. Now, short, mid does the job. This is absolutely insane for the SMG. Now for the STG-44, put on the quartermaster suppressor for being undetectable by the radar, gun kick control, and recoil control at the cost of aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. This thing is absolutely broken. Like I said before, best attachment. I see a lot of people recommending the Jack BFB, but the bullet velocity goes down 18%, which is something you do not want. Plus, this thing basically has no recoil with the build I'm about to give you guys. Put on the high Richter C70 long barrel for bullet velocity and range and aiming out its way at the cost of hip fire accuracy, hip recoil control, and gun kick control. This is basically the best attachment you can put on there. Everything else has some sort of con that I don't really think is worth it. This has the best range with effective and minimum damage range going up 28% and bullet velocity goes up 21%. You cannot beat that. Put on the 50 round drum. I mean, you want as many bullets as possible. Jack glassless optic is my preference for this gun. If you want to use the OG slate reflector, then you can, but I like the Jack glassless optic. And finally, I put on the DR79 combo stock for the gun kick control, recoil control, and firing aim stability at the cost of sprint to fire speed, aim down sight speed, and hip fire spread. You go up 21% for gun recoil control, and then the horizontal and vertical recoil 11%. Just the best choice overall. You cannot beat this. Now I'll show you guys. I gave you guys a little bit of a teaser for the STG, but this thing really is the best weapon you can actually use for basically every single range. In my opinion, it really does do a lot of damage. Now I would recommend using it for the more distance gunfights, but if you are in a situation where you have to use this close range, you will not struggle. So here's the entire class setup for this. It's absolutely amazing. Please use the STG-44 if you haven't already, because it is the best long range weapon in the game. Definitely the best assault rifle. Next, for people that still love the Superi 46 even after the nerf, I wanted to make it so it basically wasn't nerfed at all, and here's the best build for it. Throw on the quartermaster suppressor for being undetectable by the radar, gun kick control, and recoil control, no longer needing the Zemin 35, so you do not lose that bullet velocity. Instead, you just get way more recoil control, or basically the same cons as before. Now, there was a 6% increase, now it's 8%, not that much different, and sprint to fire speed goes up, but we're gonna take care of that. Put on the Zulu Ops 3 light barrel for the crouch movement speed and aim walking movement speed. This thing is absolutely dangerous. Look at the ADS movement speed, 14% increase, and crouch movement speed 10% increase. Definitely worth it in my opinion. Some people use the Board 99, but in my opinion, if you use this, you're going to lose bullet velocity, which is something we do not want. Put on the XRK Edge BW4 hand stop for the aim walking movement speed, aim down sight speed, and sprint to fire speed. This is absolutely amazing and basically takes care of all the cons that we lost earlier. The mobility and handling just goes up tremendously. Make sure you guys put on the 40 round mag because there's as many bullets as you can possibly get. And I usually use the Jack Cutthroat for the benefits of the mobility, but if you want fantastic movement, you can use the Rescue 9 stock. I think this is actually the most balanced build right here, but if you want to be maxed out in strafe speed, then use the Jack Cutthroat. I can show you guys the difference. It's just movement versus strafe speed, so I'm going to show you guys movement first. So check this out. You're moving incredibly fast with the Superi. Like, you're really they're gonna have a hard time actually catching up with you, and your strafe speed is still very fast. Like, it's a very fantastic weapon and very easy to use. Now, if we move on to the Jack Cutthroat, we're going to put this on there. there real quick. I'm going to show you guys the difference. So you still are moving kind of fast. The main thing in this instance is the strafe speed is way faster, as you guys see. So people are going to have a hard time actually tracking you if you're strafing all over the place. So whatever build you actually want, completely up to you. And lastly, I just want to say that this thing is actually amazing at long range too. So here's the entire build right here. If you guys want either the Jack Cutthroat or the Rescue 9 stock, both are very good. Everything else is basically the same for attachments. After the update, the SVA 545 got a massive buff, so you guys should be using this if you guys don't have the other guns. So on the VT7 Spirit Fire Suppressor for being undetectable by the radar, recoil control, and bullet velocity and range. This helps the range effective and minimum 5% and bullet velocity 8%, which is basically the best choice for the SVA. You also get a vertical and horizontal recoil increase. But on the STV Precision Barrel for aiming out of the way, bullet velocity and range, gun kick control, and recoil control, this is a fantastic choice because effective and minimum damage range goes up 12% and bullet velocity 15%. Now the recoil control goes up 4% and 8% for vertical and horizontal recoil, which is a fantastic choice. Put on the 545 high grain rounds for bullet velocity and damage range. It's 15% across the board at the cost of some recoil control, which you will not notice because of something we're going to do, and I'll show you guys that in the firing range. But before we get into that, make sure you guys put on the 60 round mag, and finally the Jack Glassless optic. So to give yourself no recoil, all you guys do is push left on the D-pad so you can put it in semi-auto mode. This is basically going to make it so it's shooting 2 bullets incredibly fast, basically faster than the regular fire rate, and this thing gives it 0 recoil. I'm actually not even holding my thumbstick down, which is actually insane to say. The fact that I'm not holding my thumbstick down and that is the recoil pattern, that's why I say don't worry about the recoil, because it's going to be super easy to control. So here's the entire class for the SVA 545, and now for the final weapon. I know there are people that still love the Kar 98K and want to be able to use it and make it viable, so this is the best class setup for it. Throw on the Sonic Suppressor L for being undetectable by the radar, bullet velocity and damage range at the cost of sprint to fire speed, recoil control, and aim walking steadiness. You get a 5% increase for effective and minimum damage range and a 13% increase for bullet velocity. Put on the 7.62 Longbow for bullet velocity and damage range, 12% for effective and minimum damage range, and 15% for bullet velocity, which is a fantastic choice. Put on the high grain rounds for bullet velocity and damage range, 15% across the board. SPX 80 6.6 times optic. Now, if you guys don't want to use the scope, you guys can use the range caller V 3.4 optic. I just think that the SPX is better. And finally, the no stock for aim walking speed, sprint to fire speed, movement speed, and aim down sight speed. This helps the mobility and handling and basically fixes all the cons you had previously in this build. When you go into the firing range, it's super easy to actually use this weapon. I've never actually struggled with using this weapon at basically any range. Now, obviously, there was a ranged nerf, so you have to be careful using it like super far away. You're not gonna be able to one shot from super far away anymore, but I'm pretty sure within 50 meters or actually 50 meters, you're still gonna be able to one shot, so make sure you guys are using this build. And for my lethals, tacticals, and perk packages, I know a lot of people were asking me about it. I use smoke to get out of really bad gunfights. I'm not gonna lie, there are situations where you're getting swarmed by 4 people or something along those lines, and stim won't always help you. You know, stim is nice for a movement play against 1 or 2 people, but what if it's about 3 or 4 people coming at you at once? Smoke will save your life, believe me. Throwing knife, obviously, I think throwing stars are cool, but you can't replenish them, so throwing knife is much better. Now for the perk package, I use Mountaineer, Sleight of Hand, Tempered, and High Alert. Now here's the thing about Sleight of Hand. I think it's super useful. It's helped me in a ton of situations reload quicker. Mountaineer, obviously, you jump from super high places. Tempered, and High Alert. High Alert is such an underrated perk. I know that people use it, but I don't think enough people use it. In fact, everybody should be using High Alert. If someone is outside of your view, it will light up for you. It will light up yellow, and it'll help you. Now, Tempered, obviously 2 plates, fantastic. Sleight of Hand, like I said before, reload quicker, and Mountaineer just to jump from higher places. These are all the best perks.